Our U.S. business correspondent Julia Soon is waiting to discuss U.S. markets opening and the latest business news making headlines in the United States. Hi, Julia. So U.S. President Donald Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani said on Tuesday that Trump has submitted written answers to questions from special counsel Robert Mueller on his probe of Russian meddling in the 2016 election and possible collusion with the Trump campaign. What questions were asked and what do we know about how they were answered?
Well, you're right. There was a long list of questions. Mueller was, after all, tasked to probe any matters that arose or may arise directly from the investigation into possible collusion between the Donald Trump's campaign and Russia during the 2016 election. And you can see that could include basically anything leading up to 2016, anything happened during that election period, and also anything after that. So it's a wide bucket of events. Now, according to Trump's lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, they answered every question the special investigator asked that was, quote, legitimately pre-election and focused on Russia and nothing else, nothing post-election. And Team Trump had told Team Mueller that they won't be doing that. They won't be answering anything outside of the scope they have already touched on. Giuliani said Trump did not plan to answer any questions from Mueller on whether he tried to obstruct the investigation once he won office, such as by firing the former FBI Director James Comey. Now, Reuters has reached out to the special counsel's office, but we have not heard back. The spokesperson had declined to comment. Among the topics Trump answered questions about on Tuesday was a June 2016 meeting between the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., and other members of his campaign, such as Jared Kushner and Paul Manafort, and a group of Russians. That is according to someone Reuters spoke to who is familiar with this whole matter. Trump, of course, has denied repeatedly knowing about the Trump Tower meeting with the Russians who had promised damaging information about the former Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. Other questions may have touched on, including WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange and also Roger Stone, who is a longtime Trump ally with ties to WikiLeaks, who is also under investigation. Now, Rudy Giuliani said, quote, there were no real big surprises in the questions. They were detailed, complex, and they were multi-part. He would not say how many questions there were in total. Now, Mueller has already brought charges against some former Donald Trump aides, including his former campaign chairperson and also his former national security advisor, as well as a number of Russian individuals and entities. U.S. prosecutors are also preparing to pursue a criminal case against Julian Assange, having obtained a sealed indictment that was revealed in an unrelated criminal case filing last week. As for the Mueller investigation, we were guessing before whether there would be a sit-down interview at some point. Can Mueller call Trump? And will Trump even agree to that? Well, Rudy Giuliani just told Reuters that there was very little hope that Trump would ever sit for an interview with the special counsel. So as far as answering the question part goes, this may be the extent we see.
Well, there's no surprise that Trump would refuse a sit-down interview of that kind. But anyway, Wall Street saw a very dramatic sell-off on Tuesday. How is Wednesday looking? And what else are you watching?
Well, yeah, you're right. Dramatic it was Monday and Tuesday. Now, U.S. and European futures are opening. I mean, they haven't opened yet, but they're ticking up a little bit as the market tries to shake off the negativity. Although, frankly, we're not sure if they will be able to do that because of the plummeting oil prices and this whole uneasiness, if you would call it, about the technology companies. It's really keeping the sentiment in check. The WTI oil price has, as you said earlier, tumbled to the low 50s, and this is pushing the whole energy sector, energy companies across the board lower. Apple is down nearly 24% from its recent October peak, and this is pushing the NASDAQ index lower as well. Both the S&P 500 and the Dow are back in the negative territory in terms of their yearly gains. So everything this year has been wiped out again. In other words, it was pretty much a bloodbath here in New York, and this is denting the confidence. We actually don't expect much action from the markets today because it's a short week, right? Thanksgiving holiday is on Thursday, followed by Black Friday. I will be shopping. We'll probably be watching Europe, Brexit, and Theresa May. She is still trying to find a solution to avoid the hard border in the Northern Line and a possibly tech-centered solution, something she's exploring. The UK and the EU are meeting in Brussels today so that they can work together and possibly agreed on the future of trade relations with just over 4 months before Britain leaves the bloc. The two sides are trying to hammer out their divorce terms and an outline, if you would call it, of their future relationship before a summit on Sunday. That would give their parliament enough time to consider a deal that will end more than 40 years of partnership. The blueprint on future ties is actually a political document of about 20 pages meant to be agreed side by side with an exit treaty of about 600 pages of dense legal text, and that was unveiled last week. That draft accord so far has done little to win over lawmakers in Britain. In fact, Theresa May's political career has come into question lately. We talked about that. She is definitely trying to move things along and secure some kind of rebels, if you would call them, back at home, and that's what we'll be watching.
Well, Julia, I wish we could put the trade tensions and Brexit on pause for Thanksgiving, which is coming up, and I wish I could be in New York shopping as well. Now, I understand that the average American doesn't pay attention to issues like this, of course, because a lot of them are going to be traveling, spending time with family and whatnot. But can you give us an idea of what the roads are going to be looking like at this period, and what are travel conditions are out there for people to anticipate?
Yeah, very busy. Everybody is very busy traveling. Thanksgiving is actually one of the busiest travel seasons of the year. This year, Americans may need extra patience because according to the AAA, there will be a large number of travelers on the road this year. In fact, the largest number in more than a decade. They will hit the road. They will board flights to celebrate with family and friends after a pretty good year for the most part. Beginning on Tuesday, yesterday, more than 54 million Americans are expected to travel 50 miles or more for the traditional feast, and that will jam highways, airports, railroads, and waterways. So that would rank the highest travel volume since 2005, so in 13 years. And the weather could always complicate the journey in many parts of the country, as bitter, record-breaking cold blankets much of the Northeast on Thursday here, and heavy rainfall on the West Coast could bring mudslides. Those traveling by air should expect long security lines, while those driving to their Thanksgiving destinations should plan for aggravating traffic tangles. Now, I want to give shout out special attention to drivers in San Francisco, Boston, and New York City. They are likely to experience the worst delays. I mean, New York traffic is always bad, but according to a transportation analytics provider that we follow, some of the journeys out of these cities are expected to take nearly 4 times as long as normal. Bottom line, plan ahead, leave home early, go to the airport early. Don't be that person who's late for the big family holiday dinner.
You forgot to say charge your iPods and iPhones for music on the highway when you're in traffic. But anyway, thank you, Julia, for joining me to discuss this today. Arise, a U.S. business correspondent there, Julia Sun. You're watching the Global Business Report here on Arise News.